Welcome to the Attack and Defund God podcast, where we talk about the world.
If you
My name
could
is
call
Hank.
it that.
With me is Ben.
Yo.
Hey, Ben.
Hey. How's it going?
Hi.
How's
Not great.
things? Yeah. Shit's,
Overall, the world, not great.
as they say in the northern portion of my state, it's friggin' dickered. Friggin' dickered.
Friggin' dickered.
Yeah. It's fucked.
So, COVID-19 is a thing. It's a big thing. Cases went up, then they went down a little. Now they're going back up again.
Yeah.
Whereas the U.S. has found a way to not have lacked the willpower to actually shut down in a way nationwide that would actually suppress the virus. So cases have gone back up as places have opened too early and whatnot.
Yeah.
Where I live, our curve has actually been fine in New Jersey and New York. Cases went up as bigger than anywhere else in the country at the time, and the rate of cases has gone way down. But that just seems to the fact that New York and New Jersey got their cases under control seemed to embolden other parts of the country to say, "Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
good." As there was like no national response from
Dude, it's been...
mostly the national government didn't do shit.
Yeah. I don't even know, like...
And then I'm just going to lay out some stuff.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
On
Go
top
on,
of
go
that,
on.
as much as most of the country had shut down, the one thing that really didn't slow down at all was police killing black folks. That
Yeah.
just kept on going at the same rate,
Yeah.
culminating with the death of George Floyd on camera in a horrifying scenario where a police officer knelt on his chest for 9 minutes as he
Neck,
shouted that he
yes.
couldn't breathe, cried for his mom. So that led to protests, people burning down buildings, and those protests spread out to more and more. Those protests are still ongoing, though. Much of the country is trying to ignore it now. But George Floyd's killers were tried, but plenty of other cases, like Breonna Taylor, who was killed because of a no-knock warrant by police. No one has been charged in that, so that's still all ongoing. And really, with that, the protests are great because the system is fucked and has been broken for a long time and has only gotten worse since things have not gotten better since Ferguson, when the Black Lives Matter sort of movement, that particular version, started, and things haven't changed. So
Yeah.
one of the big calls has been to defund the police, just part of where the name for this podcast comes from. The other part of it comes from, there was like a Fox News graphic that brought up some older protests and said some older movement, and like said what their issues they cared about, and one of the bullet points was attack and dethrone God. And then on Twitter, I saw someone say attack and defund God, as you would, because that's, you take the thing and you turn it into the other thing.
Yeah.
And that's where the title for this podcast came from.
Right.
And then So that's still all ongoing. Like protests still happening during a pandemic because just it has to.
Yeah.
On top of that, now we've had this whole wave of Me Too allegations and sexual misconduct coming out. Again, positive move coming out of the world is a fucked place. Of in the video game industry, the comic book industry, like Twitch and then on gaming and other stuff.
Yeah.
Also wrestling had a wave of them.
Yeah. And we
So that stuff's also a thing that you're just reading about the worst stuff, but it's like because the world is a terrible place. But that one again, it's like this extra level of stress, but like the protest, it's ultimately this is the correct thing. This is the positive change that has to happen. It's just more things to exhaust people.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, where we are
Yeah.
in the world.
It has been, I mean, it's kind of, to me it's been like I forget what the term is. But like the proper way to write an essay is like in your intro you like start very broadly and then you like do an inverse pyramid and narrow it down to what you're talking about. It feels like our bullshit has been like kind of structured like that. Like we started out with climate change and then immediately people kind of stopped giving a shit because for the time being they have to, because pandemic takes precedence obviously as an immediate problem. And then it went to protests, and then it went to like Me Too, and it seems like it's getting more. It's just it's been such a quick string of things. I'm exhausted. It's been a rough couple of months.
Yeah.
And it's just no sign of
like, yeah. For me personally, the way it's gone is just COVID, very stressful because I work in retail and didn't close. So I've been working the whole time, and the hours and the stress of it is like, it's like fourth quarter Christmas season never ended. There was no break for me, where it's like theoretically this time of year I'd have worked fewer hours and I'd be worried more about the amount of money I had, but not like I'd be physically exhausted because I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
So that was like the thing of like, I'm stressed out about being sick. I'm stressed out about not being able to see my parents because
Yeah, dude.
they live far away, and I'm just terrified to go see them because I work all the time and I feel like I'm radioactive. And my de-stressor at work on break was like watching the governors of New York and New Jersey give their press conferences and just giving straight facts about coronavirus. Like, this is where we are today. These are where the numbers are. Boop, boop, boop. Just like
being real about it, kind of.
Just straight facts, not like, yeah.
No sensationalist stuff on either direction.
Sure.
Yeah.
But once the Black Lives Matters protests start up, cannot listen to Governor Cuomo of New York anymore because fuck him.
Ooh.
Like all his if that part of coronavirus where it was just stating facts brought out the best in him, the protests brought out the worst in him, where his solution to people protesting police violence was to say, send more cops.
Yeah.
because he's like at his core he's kind of a bully. So suddenly I lost that string of this sort of banal information.
Mm-hmm.
And instead I spent my breaks watching protesters get inflicted violence upon them by police officers. That like became my thing I did every day, and that was just a bad time. Like
Yeah.
it's like instead of being de-stressing, I was like re-stressing. So that was like just not good for my mental health. Uh, and like I really wanted to go to those protests, but I don't feel safe being around people because I'm such a I feel like a point of contact between too many people already, and also I've been having foot problems where it's just I've like called it work a couple days because I just couldn't walk because
That's no
so
good.
I can't really go around walking too much, just not acceptable. So I'm not thrilled about that. um I remember sitting at work on the toilet watching on my phone on like the first day that Jersey City was doing protests, and I watched as what was supposed to be like 9 minutes of silence for George Floyd was 9 minutes of people yelling at the nine cops there to kneel. And like eventually most of them did, but not all of them. They couldn't even
Uh,
do that
yeah.
simple fucking kind of meaningless gesture. Uh
It's been
yeah.
absolutely fucking horrendous. And I mean, for me, honestly, thankfully, I'm not taking it for granted at all. I mean, I've been making some half serious remarks about like, well, I'm kind of okay not being in America right now, but
Mhm.
COVID has it's not been a terrible worry. We're also thankfully in a position where like Anya can work perfectly from home, and I've been able to do most of my lessons online and get like groceries delivered and all that stuff. And um, people here are, for how not seriously like average people here are taking it, I think. Like I'm looking on this site,
Mhm.
um, U.S. is in first for cases at 2.6 million. Brazil is in second at 1.4. Russia has about 650,000 cases, and it's not really the way, as far as I understand, it's not really getting any better, but it's not getting any worse, or not drastically worse. So they're I think they're kind of trying to hit just that flatten the curve, and like we know that like what 70% of people are going to get it, but we'd like to stretch that out if possible. Um but even like so many people outside aren't wearing masks, and it's, I mean, it's a big city. So people, you can
Mhm.
see even when we take our little walks, like people are on the bus without a mask, and it's just nuts that they don't care. But the delivery services and stuff have all introduced, like they're pretty chill about like, hey, we have this option, like we'll just leave the stuff at your door, we'll step back like 2 meters and like just handle stuff from a distance. So that's good, at least. um
Mhm.
the protests are what that hit me hard. That was, it was like what, a week, like a full week, maybe almost 2 weeks, where just like every single fucking day and normally I'm good about not like diving into this stuff because it's such a deep hole, but every single day I would literally wake up not even out of bed yet, and I would just be looking at like all the bullshit that happened because it was nonstop. And I mean, it's still not stopping, but that initial
Yeah.
like when everything was getting reported on heavily, super heavily, and just like a solid week. Like I'd be in the shower just like almost tearing up, but not quite there. Just like that feeling in your throat, and it's just like it's so garbage. And I wanted to. It was. I never thought that this would be the thing that made me like want to be back in America, because I wanted to be there protesting, right? Like for whatever reason, this has been kind of a not a point of contention, but for lack of a better phrase, like when the stuff in Ferguson happened, or like some of the other in between that, even like it's not that I didn't care, but I wasn't focused on it, and for whatever reason, like this is the one, like it clicked with me, and just like how much bullshit it is, and like I mean better late than never, right? But it's been absolute garbage, and I ended up like donating a fair chunk, which I'm thankful to be able to do. But it's still, it feels like it's nothing, because I'm still just like sitting on my ass 4,000 miles away. Like, and I know it would be a COVID risk, but like I want to fucking be there. I want to help out,
man.
Even though I technically have. And then
I mean, it does seem like the protests have not been, at least yet, an angle of which the COVID cases have risen.
Yeah, it seems
to the
like
extent that I even thought they would.
Yeah.
Which I assume because people are outside. Even though it's pretty hit and miss whether people are actually wearing masks or not. But
yeah, I think it
seems way less worse than, say, opening a bar. Opening a bar seems much worse.
I have not heard. Yeah, that's the perfect example, because in comparison, like I haven't seen any articles of like thousands of COVID cases due to protests, but I have seen like I don't know, 20 different articles about a bar opening and like 20 people get COVID from it or something. Yeah. The only things unfortunately I haven't kept up too much with like the specifics of Wisconsin, but I know. I may have mentioned it before, probably not on the podcast though. The closest thing to a real town next to my hometown had the police themselves organized like a peaceful protest, like march thing. I believe they had open questions, and then I mean they also did like a cookout thing, because that's small town, baby. But. And that's great, but it's such a different. I don't know. I'm so curious. I haven't been able to find anyone who actually went to it that I know, but there's a big difference when your town has like 20,000 people and maybe 5 of them are black. Like there's just nobody. Like it's not an uncommon sight, but it's still like a fucking speck in the glass of milk, and I'm so curious as to whether they truly feel that way, or whether it was just an easy thing to do because there's no like true protest going on. So it's been a whole thing, and just a ton of people taking that classic angle of like getting the priorities fucked up, where it's like it's a shame that man died, but they shouldn't be burning down stores. It's like, well, it's a shame the store burned down, but maybe they should stop killing people. Like, and then even a couple people got a little heated with, and just the double think bullshit with like somehow a few people getting way too violent when protesting ruins all of the protest, but the bad cops don't just spoil the whole bunch somehow, and it's just fucking infuriating. I've talking with Anya, or ranting at her, more like I've given myself like 3 different stress headaches over all this shit, just because I fucking hate it. And it's infuriating. And then I made the mistake, of watching a very, very good documentary on Netflix, LA 92, just detailing the 92 riots in Los Angeles. It's the same exact shit. It's fucking scary that it's like it's 4 white cops, it's 1 black guy on the ground getting the piss beaten out of him, and like someone happened to be filming. And nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's been interesting, like talking with students, because they have not really a true idea. I think none of them so far have really understood like the position of black people in America, or to an extent, like people of color, obviously, but in this specific case. And they've been asking like, so what will happen? Like what's the goal of these protests? And I, like explain like what people want, and they ask like, will that happen? Like, will this actually result in change? And I'm like, well, historically, either it will result in change or fucking nothing will happen except a bunch of violence. And it's unfortunate, but like there are examples. I hate it.
Like overall, the U.S. police system hasn't changed since the civil rights protests in the 60s. Like there hasn't actually been. There's been isolated change because of particularly bad places like Camden, New Jersey, fired all their police officers within recent history and rebuilt it. So like that is a different situation currently than, say, New York City, where the New York City police officers are incredibly powerful and huge. Just like you look at any footage out of New York and just the number of cops is staggering.
Dude,
because they have like a $6 billion budget plus whatever they're getting paid in overtime.
Dude, the comparison pictures, and again, it's been. I've tried to keep it slightly more neutral, especially for my groups that are like through my company and everything. I definitely had those professors where you show up to class, they're like, we're gonna talk today about why Trump is a piece of shit. But like, I've just been trying, because again, they don't understand very well. But I definitely one of my groups brought up that picture, and it was like, why is the NYPD outfitted like the goddamn Avengers and the doctors are wearing trash bags? Like, what the fuck? It's
Why was Cuomo talking about how budgetary concerns in New York might have had caused them to start firing healthcare workers? The federal government didn't step in. But at no point was he willing to even entertain the idea of cutting the budget of the police when crime was way down.
Yeah. Well, that's why crime is way down, obviously.
No. Yeah.
So I saw something, and I feel a little bad. I didn't like further it up that much, but I at least know I'm wrong for doing so. I saw a thing saying that they're going to take away in itself is hilarious. They're going to take away $1 billion from the NYPD, but I also saw some people suggesting that is mostly due to the pandemic and needing to have some budget cuts somewhere, and now they're just framing it as like, see, we're defunding the police, even though it's just like they had to for other reasons. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, they're just shifting money around, basically. It's not like actual.
Okay,
what they did is they suspended the next incoming class, but they're not suspending the class after that, whereas there's a hiring freeze on every other department in New York.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to even do that for the NYPD, and they're not cutting any actual officers who are currently working, because the New York City, the New York City Police Union, very powerful political organization. Although the most hilarious comment out of it was Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York, going, "Oh, we don't need to really cut that much because they're so well run." It's like, oh, when you say that stuff like that, it's like, yeah, they're evil. Like, if they're not fucking up and they're doing this violent, that means it's intentional and they're just out there to fucking hurt people. They are.
Yeah. Dude, it's been in some of these, unfortunately, I won't say on here, but I do believe I mentioned in Discord, but some people close to me it's been absolutely, I need a stronger word than infuriating, but I don't fucking know one off the top of my head. When you show people videos of police officers like putting a literal hole in someone's skull, and a 16-year-old boy's skull, like, you can see the kid's fucking brain in this hole due to a beanbag launcher, and the people you show the video to have the fucking audacity to say, well, what happened in the seconds before the video started? My God. It's just been rage. Like, the amount of people, especially, again, rural Wisconsin, like, it's not a small chunk, though I think a lot of people they recognize it's bad, but there's a not small chunk of people who are like, blue lives matter, all lives matter. And it's, God damn it. Just fuck. It'd be different. It'd be different if we had one video and it was questionable. Like, clearly sometimes you only get like the end result and you don't get the context. And from my perspective, most of the time it doesn't matter. Like, but when you have, what was that Twitter thread up to? It was like almost 500 different scenarios, each of which had like 4 angles because everybody's filming everything. Like,
yeah,
you're telling me 500 different times, and that's only the ones that people caught. You're telling me 500 different times the protester was in the wrong? Get out of here. Get out. Absolutely not.
It doesn't, like, in a lot of those cases, the police, like, clearly they go too far. But, like, the mistake, the systematic failure is, like, what the police are showing up with gear-wise and, like, in what force. Like, that's the point where you're like, oh, this is fucked. Like, this,
dude.
You only do this because it's gonna go bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they showed up in plainclothes and weren't, strategically boxing in protesters.
Yeah.
And there weren't, curfews set out so that at a certain point at night, the police can go up and kick the shit out of everyone with impunity.
Yeah. Dude, the fucking, my brother is in a city in Minnesota, very close to Minneapolis. And he literally, like, maybe you saw the videos of people like marching down the streets of whatever suburbs or areas in Minnesota and like just firing paintballs at people who are on their porch past curfew, because apparently you literally can't be standing outside. And like, my brother had videos from his friends who that was happening to. Like, they were just, I mean, if like the goddamn army was marching down my street, I also might want to film it from my porch. But apparently, and you just hear the dude yell fire and they start like popping paintballs at the people.
I mean, the craziest thing is, like, or in terms of like the way humans will ignore how fucked the police are, is reporters who are like being fired upon by police.
Dude,
just they can't comprehend what's happening to them.
That was like a changing point over here, because like prior to that, everybody was like kind of making jokes, but making jokes in the sense of like, so America's better than Russia, you say? And then like once the stuff started happening where you had like reporters getting clearly targeted for basically no reason. I mean like no reason like they were doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That's when people here were like, this is fucked. Like this is the shit that you guys stereotype Russia with. Like everyone's over here like, oh, another Russian journalist committed suicide by shotgun shot to the back of the head. Like,
Man.
Literally in front of your eyes, this shit is happening in America, and it's been unbelievable. Like, this has completely changed how people here view America. Like, they're watching their police doing the shit that some of the police here do. Absolutely insane.
It is funny, like, the people reacting to this, like, well, you can't do that to reporters. You're only allowed to do that to black people. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, what if the reporter is black? Dude, the amount, like what was it? The things I've seen is like one senator.
That
right?
CNN reputer who was like literally talking through the whole process.
I'm
of
being arrested.
The cops deciding to pull him away. I'm being arrested for no reason.
Well, that
like,
and like,
fuck?
It's unbelievable. It's like they haven't caught up to the idea that like we have video evidence of all this shit.
Well,
when they turn around and they're like,
it doesn't seem to matter anyway.
They weren't. Well, yeah, but when they tried to come out and say like they weren't moving or they weren't following directions, and literally like 3/4 of the video is the reporter being like, we can go wherever you guys want us. Like just let us know. We want to you know, like follow your guidelines. Like we want to be cool. Just tell us where you want us. We're reporters. Blah blah. Doesn't fucking matter. And then they're like, oh Jesus, it's awful.
I mean, but you think about it, like how often is the media just takes the police story as fact?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
this is the official record,
media,
even though like you're seeing cases where like the police were telling them the official record and like CNN's like, yo, we just watched that. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
But like that's what it takes for them to even like doubt it. And even then they're not like, it's not like you're just lying. There's just like bewilderment. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Because it's just not. There's just an unwillingness to accept how fucked it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, this is the way the system's built. Like, this is what we expect from our police and what we allow our police to do. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, and it's so.
And it's what we give them money to then go and lobby and like get politicians on their side and furthering this and making it even worse and entrenching it and entrenching our prison systems in, you know, busting low-level drug crimes. That's just a way to persecute black people.
Yeah.
And leave them in prison where then they can all get infected with COVID.
Yeah.
Like, also,
well, and
you know, our prisons are like incubators for this pandemic we're going on, but we're unwilling to deal with that either.
You know, prisons, remodeled slave labor, like whatever.
Yeah, you know, paying prisoners $5 an hour to fight fires and or do other things, but
it's so difficult for I'm going to assume that like the experience in my area of Wisconsin is something that can just be kind of blanketed over any similar area in other states, where you have your local police department. Like my hometown has like 3 officers or some shit. Like we had a police vehicle. When the football team came to school, like you could have robbed the local Subway because all the cops were busy with the football team. And you know, you get like, you obviously know those people to an extent. Like I remember in school, like if there was a cop trying to catch students like speeding in to the high school, people wouldn't be like, "Oh, there's a cop on the highway." They'd be like, "Oh, Brady is sitting on the highway," because they fucking know like everybody knows the cop. And even in slightly bigger towns, like you still have that kind of community vibe where like they're not going to be absolute assholes because everybody fucking knows them and it's too small. So these people take that kind of interaction, right? Like I personally have never had a bad interaction with a cop ever. Is it I have thought like, is it because I'm white? Who knows? But like I don't know anyone else who's had a bad interaction with a cop locally either. And people try to like, I think a lot of people want to apply that to all cops. Like, oh, there's just a few bad ones. Like the cops here are good, like most cops are good. And it's just such like, you take the cops in bumfuck Wisconsin and it's going to be completely different than the cops in New York City. Shockingly. Like it's something like people can't get that idea out of their head, it seems like to me. That their experience is not what everybody else is experiencing, especially in cities.
Yeah, because in a lot of cities, you'll have a predominantly white black police force in policing a black community where they don't live. Like they live out in the suburbs. And then they're coming in for work into the city. And they fucking hate it there because, like, that's where they work. And this is where all the black people are. Mm-hmm. Like, they see the worst of people also just inherently. They're not seeing people. They're not getting called in when things are going nice and fun. So that's all fucked.
Yeah.
And also, like, the other part is, because of the way we've cut budget on so many other, and we're like unwilling to fund any other social services, but we're willing to fund police. The police become responsible for things that shouldn't be their responsibility, like the homelessness problem in America and mental health. Like where they're just gonna, a police officer who's coming into that situation is just gonna make it worse.
Oh yeah. And obviously, there have been extreme cases where, like, it's an officer, I don't even want to say dealing with, it's an officer just, like, beating up or even killing, like, someone with mental or disorders or special needs or something like that. But for even, like, aside from that, I am sure, not that without having videos of it, how many times do you think an officer has tried to deal properly with a case like that and has massively failed because they don't know how, because that's not, like, really their job? Like, I wouldn't know how to deal with some of those cases, because it's not, if you don't know, you don't know. And if you're not trained to know, then how the fuck are you going to?
And if what you're trained to do is
arrest
wield a gun.
Yeah.
Maybe that's when you have a hammer, you see those nails.
Yeah.
It's bad. Because it's just, and the reason why there have to be protests for anything to fucking get done, for anything to change, is because, like, the Republican Party, mostly racist, gonna be hard on that stuff anyway. But the Democrats also pro-cop. Like, the way we've tried to fix police has been to put more money into police. That's been the way. It's like, oh, police are, like, not properly trained, let's give them more money.
Yeah.
And without, giving them more oversight. Like, the problem has just gotten worse, and the system is broken. And, like, the Black Lives Matter movement started under black president, black attorney general. Like, It was the system was broken and it couldn't fix itself. Is why like this movement of protest started, because like just the normal methods of trying to do incremental change through voting is just not, it's not getting us there.
Yeah.
It's not actually moving the needle. Stuff hasn't changed. And like we just had this Democratic primary where the guy who won, Joe Biden, was the one running on incremental change and not really doing that much, just getting rid of Trump. And like Trump is terrible, and he's done a bad job with the coronavirus, and he's bad in any number of litany of ways. The police problem in America is not his fault. It's way older and way more entrenched.
Yeah. Oh.
He's just, the latest headmaster or whatever. Like it's really, this problem is not about him at all. So the idea of like we just need to vote is also like that's not enough.
This problem.
This problem is way more problematic, and you have to do way more. And the things that have been done so far feel like the system going, well, we've got our list of compromises we're willing to make. It's like, oh, we'll get rid of all these episodes of TV where people use blackface. Check those off. We can get those. But it actual change.
Well,
nope. That's not actually moving money away from policing and into mental health and social services. No, that's not happening.
They gave people change.
I'm seeing. It's also, we're getting to the point where I'm seeing more people be like more voices saying the old lines of good cops, not all cops. Like that conversation is starting to change in that way, where it's people are like pushing back. The system is people who are like kind of compromised or whatever, or not actually understand what this problem is.
Yeah.
Are kind of like the moderate people, and who are not. It's you have to actually overhaul things. We can't. There's no just reform here, because the cops are gonna lie and they're gonna do what they want to do. They're not a trustworthy organization.
Yeah.
On this stuff, they're just not.
Yeah, the cops are investigating the cops to see if they did anything wrong.
And like the other problem is like the oversight for the cops should be at the federal government, and under Trump, the federal government has done less investigating than ever.
Yeah.
There's less like you come in from the outside and actually overhaul a particular precinct or whatever. Like that's just not happening at all. But even that's like poking at a problem. That's not fixing a systemic issue.
Mm-hmm. And the with people saying like not all cops or whatever, that's again very common for my area. And
yeah,
I've seen, I think I did mention this in Discord at some point lightly, but the misinformation on Facebook is just so apparent, and obviously like there's bullshit, like especially with Trump in office, like that just blew the fuck up, and there's actually I see misinformation on both sides, and it's pretty terrible. But the thing, and I'll call her out a little because she didn't mean bad by it, but my mom shared something, and at first glance it's like okay, it's just like showing some of the officers that have died or whatever in 2020, and the way it's worded is like it's 9 police officers, and it's like more police officers have died in the line of duty since the incident in Minneapolis than unarmed black people. I'm like, yeah, okay, by 2, and we're not counting armed black people. And also, like, looking at this list, literally one of the officers died because another police officer accidentally shot him when they were raiding someone's house. Like, just all this bullshit. And got into a little tiff with my mom about it, and she said, like, well, my friend shared it, and her brother is a cop. Took all the willpower, literally every fiber of my being, to not ask, like, well, does he also hate black people? Or, like, does he beat his wife too or something? Like, all the willpower. And I'm just like, this is the shit, like, this, you know, because people, this hits people, right? It's like the emotional pull, and, like, you can't just, like, take things at face value. Like, a lot of officers have also been blah, 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 blah. Like, you're lying, and this is garbage. Like, the one black guy you put on this list died in 2017. Get out of here. Just ridiculous. And I see a fair chunk of things like that, and after doing the due diligence and looking up some of the shit with that one, I'm like, I can't do this for every post that comes across on Facebook. I'd have no time left. Yeah. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Facebook, social media has been just trash for this shit. And the internet at large.
I mean,
just because echo chambers.
All the video that people can share is, you know.
That's true. That's
a thing. Like, it's way harder for cops to say no. I mean, actually, it's exactly the same as cops saying this stuff isn't happening, but there's at least, you know,
proof. You can show someone, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that proof means anything. Like, apparently, I don't. The part of the Trump whole presidency is like facts are actually not that important, apparently.
Facts don't matter.
We're post-truth.
We're in that part of the Civ game.
But gross. So the other thing, it's like what is why do we have police? Like, what is actually their job and what do they do? Because, like, in New York, a lot of it is like stop and frisk bullshit that is literally just harassing black people, and with the aim of fighting the war on drugs and getting,
which was lost, you know, so
low-level drug busts, which is horseshit and isn't like actually useful.
Yeah.
But, like, that's an incredible amount of the time and energy the police spend, and it's just about harassing black people.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I'll say again, that's actually I got a couple things here on that. First off, that's I guess kind of news to me. I knew stop and frisk was a thing. I thought they got rid of it, or did they get rid of it and then bring it back? Or was it just, like, contended and it won? Or some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a thing in my area. Of course I heard about it for cities and shit. And I know exactly what it is. But that is some, again, going back to, like, people and talk about, like, oh, fascist, communist Russia. That shit they do here. Like, I still remember driving somewhere and, like, was with Anya and her dad and her uncle, and, like, they're Armenian, and, like, there's been I once asked, like, why doesn't your dad, like, grow a huge beard? Like, he'd look awesome. And Anya was like, well, he would also look like a terrorist, so no. And, like, same shit, like, here, that's, like, their policy. Just driving, like, a cop will just pull out and you're doing absolutely nothing wrong, there's nothing, no reason. And they just pull out and they, like, make you pull over and they, like, check your license, check your trunk, all that shit. And if they're having a bad day, like, maybe it goes worse. That's some Russia shit. That's some shit that people, like, make fun of Russia for. And it's still happening? That's ridiculous. And yeah, the war on drugs is just
Yeah, but it's not happening to
Jesus.
white people.
How silly of me, of course. Carry on. God, I just saw it again. The Key and Peele sketch where the black guy is walking through the neighborhood, like just the quintessential white suburban neighborhood, and everybody's like locking their doors or like having their kids come inside, and a cop is driving down the street, and the black dude pulls up his hood, and on the side there's a side profile of a white guy, and the cop just like smiles and drives on because it's a white person. Like that's, yeah. No, it's trash, and I hate that along with feeling like I haven't done enough. I hate that I don't think it's something I can never truly empathize with, just because like how could you, right? Like how the fuck could I possibly be able to imagine what it would be like to like have that fear constantly. I still remember, and again, kind of with this with the protest, like, or I guess this general issue, like finally clicking with me. I've been thinking about stuff that some black people in my major in university had said like throughout some of our literature classes, and I still remember reading some 5 out of 10 book about a black family that had moved from somewhere to somewhere in the U.S. And the protagonist of the story, I think, was like 13 or something like that, or maybe even 11. And someone in the book calls her the N-word, and it's obviously this point, and she had never heard it before, and of course it's all this whole thing. And the girl in my class was like, I don't think she understands like how lucky she is that she hadn't heard that word before she was 11. And I'm like thinking back on it, I'm like, what the fuck? What could you, a child? Like it's fucked up.
World's fucked up.
It's just gross. Just absolutely gross.
And like that's the thing. It's like there's only so much like pressure you can put people under before they have to burn a building down. They just have to.
Yeah, dude.
They just have to do it.
And then
like at a certain point, if you don't fix the problem, at a certain point these buildings just gotta burn. That's just how it is.
Yeah. No,
and
that's
it's because it's just a cause and effect.
Yeah. Well, that's
so if you're blaming people, no.
That's been the big thing with.
So there's.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, there's a sentiment that I heard. There's this idea that I've read about Martin Luther King saying, and I saw Malcolm X say like the same kind of idea, that really the problem with racism in America is moderate white people who aren't racist necessarily, but aren't going to move to help change things. Yeah. They'll like say the right thing, but ultimately they're not going to do anything, because those are the people that like are running this house that is on fire. Mm-hmm. And they're just letting this building burn, and it's sitting there.
Yeah, man.
It's the "this is fine" meme.
Yeah.
Like, except, like, there are plenty of voices and, corporations that will say, like, agree with, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter, sure. And then do fucking nothing. And nothing will change. Mm-hmm. And that's that's how we get where we are from, this clearly being fucked for as long as this country has existed.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, on one hand, it's easy for me to say this because I kind of underwent my metamorphosis. but like the amount of people I know who are like between the ages of like 16 and like 20-ish, who just like, you know, change the profile picture on Facebook, toss a hashtag BLM onto the end of something, like maybe chuck like $5 somewhere or something, like do something instead of just the social media thing. But yeah, I've seen with you mentioning Martin Luther King, um, when people are like, I understand why they're upset and how angry they are, but they should just be peacefully protesting. You mean like Colin fucking Kaepernick, the son of a bitch who kneeled during the anthem? You mean like Martin Luther King Jr. who got assassinated? Like, it doesn't. They've been peacefully protesting. People have been peacefully protesting, even for these protests. Like, wasn't the very first instance of like looting or incited violence? It was a cop, right? Like, it was that white dude who just had on like a shitload of stuff on his face, so you couldn't tell, and he was just like casually smashing windows.
I don't know. Like, yeah, the violent protest gets attention, and it needs to be attention. But mostly, like, if protests are getting violent, it's just because it's like it's an emotional response. It's not like people are out there like,
Yeah, dude.
you know, this is a bad thing. I should burn that building down. That's not.
Yeah,
That's not how that happens. You can't. Like, the whole idea of thinking about it in terms of they shouldn't do that is so completely wrong-headed. It's people are thinking about it incorrectly.
Yeah.
It's like the system is broken and failing. The social contract of like this government works for people is broken. So these buildings have to burn.
Yeah. I
Because
mean
you just can't fucking take it anymore. Like, it just reaches a boiling point. And if you don't do anything, it'll keep happening.
to quote King, riot is the language of the unheard. Like, it's really all it is. Like, it's you're fucking backed into a corner. What the hell are you gonna do? There is again, the amount of the amount of previous, I suppose, media or instances, songs, movies, stories, protests that have like the same exact, I want to say something that's not plot, but plot, I guess. Like the same beats as what's happening now is fucking staggering. And there is you're making me think from a song that's talking about the protest in 1999 at like the World Banks or FM World Banks or something. And one of the bits of a line is protesters getting restless without an exit, because like cops keep fucking boxing them in and like not letting them just leave. And it's like, what do you? That's how people react. Like, if they're boxed in, they start to get like panicky, and then that leads to that's violence.
That's police inciting violence.
Yeah.
The thing we like, just the system is not prepared. People are not like ready to talk about, and like can't wrap their heads around. Of like, you have to allow for peaceful protest.
Yeah.
It's like a big group of angry people. You have to give them their space to be pissed.
Yeah, man.
You don't then send in armored people who are there to beat the shit out of them and like corner them in and like or herd them into a space so that then they burst out, because that's just what will happen, because that's animal nature. It's just
yeah. Ugh.
It's like, violent protests. Oh, you mean there are cops there?
Yeah, fucking exactly. Dude, I think just
Because
even
burning down a building is not the same as violence. That's property destruction,
yeah.
ultimately.
Well, and I
It's not
mean
like people
it's
beating the shit out of each other.
it's not good. I mean, this is why like when I was looking for my it feels like I'm fucking tooting my own horn, but I swear I'm trying not to. But like looking at places to donate, and it's like where the hell do you put your money? You have the protesters. You have organizations like trying to, food, medical supplies, water for people protesting or any injuries, obviously. You have the bail for protesters. You have the organizations themselves, the NAACP, or Black Lives Matter. Or you have like the victims for like, because obviously some of the people whose businesses have been burnt or destroyed or looted are people of color, and that's unfortunate, but so I try to spread it out. But one of the things, it's still not good, but when I see someone whose like business was destroyed, or even I think like Target and CNN also made similar statements when their shit was a little wrecked, and they were like, we're really sorry that our buildings got burnt, or we worked really hard for this, but like Black Lives Matter, do your thing. Like it's a fucking building. Or like CNN, or I forget if it was CNN or Target, but like their shit got smashed. Like people were vandalizing the storefront or the business front and all of this stuff, and they like post a picture. They're like, Black Lives Matter. We're like, the sign's gonna be repaired like next week. It's fine. Like, yeah, it's just a business. It's just a building. It's not a fucking human life.
Yeah. It's a pretty simple thing that a large number of people do not understand, or just get basic human empathy on this.
Yeah. And it's one of the...
And I kind of don't know what to do.
I...
That's the part where I don't know what to do with, is the number of people who just don't have like basic human empathy.
Like, it's unfortunate the amount of times I've heard or seen someone who's like, well, how would you feel if someone smashed all the windows? If you built up a business and someone smashed all the windows or stole shit, or like just completely vandalized it? And I'm like, does that mean that someone in the future might not fucking die? Because then go for it. Like, it's not difficult. Like, they're trying to get this whole, like, gotcha thing. And it's like, no, that's fine. If you need to throw a brick through my window to, like, prevent someone's death in the future, then by all means, I'll help you. Like,
man,
pretty easy to value human life above bullshit.
Gotta open this economy, Ben. Has to be done.
He brought it full fucking circle. A few of you may die.
So
God, that's
today. I was
go.
watching a bit of the hearings about COVID, and there was like a guy asking Fauci, I don't know who it was, basically like, so if we, how could we get to, the vaccine seems hard, so could we get to herd immunity? And she's like, herd immunity, you would need at like minimum 70% exposure. We're at like 5%. That is not a reasonable thing.
Yeah.
That is, that's not the way. That one's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Which I feel like people don't get.
Dude, some of the...
that, like, as bad as it is, we're not close to herd immunity. And we don't know how long immunity, once you have, like, antibodies, is going to last. We don't know the long-term effects of coronavirus. It's like...
Yeah. My, again, not quite as bad, but some of the companies here are kind of like, sort of on that same page. Like they've been saying like some not great stuff. Even with my company. Oh, it looks like it's storming. If you hear some thunder, that's what's up. Appropriate, maybe. Like early on when it kind of started hitting, and it was fine for a while. Like we actually were comfortable going out and about for longer than other areas, just because it there's been a lot of shit like, is Russia hiding their numbers? Like, how can there be so few cases? And we do have family in the medical field here, and they're like, no, like it actually is just this low. And now, of course, it's hitting and it's not, but like it truly was just that low. Like it wasn't some weird cover up bullshit. Like it just happened to not get here that soon.
You could say it didn't get here that soon. All indications with a lot of this stuff is that it's always gets into the community before they realize it's in the community.
Yeah.
Like that was New York. It like might have been here in February.
Yeah.
Like way before anyone realized.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the way this disease works, it does seem like it got ahead of the doctors, because people weren't quick enough on asymptomatic or like people like normally dealing with being sick and just like not taking it easy, spreading it.
Yeah. But it was like Russia wasn't, again, like, I mean, obviously the if you're not testing, you're not picking it up, but Russia wasn't like covering up the numbers at that point. They just whatever.
Yeah,
but
they just fucked up in the wait list.
Yeah,
everyone fucked up.
Yeah. But even with like my company, for again, like teaching, pretty easy thing to transition to online. Even my company was like more hesitant than you would expect about like telling people to like not go or to figure this out. And it eventually took like almost all of the native speakers like kind of bitching about it, and then finally they like gave in and just like moved digital or canceled lessons for companies that didn't want to do that. And like I was happy with it, but I was kind of like a huff, like kind of straightening my coat as I walk away, like, you gave me what I want, but also kind of like, fuck you. And I know Anya's right here, maybe she'll confirm if I'm wrong. I believe her company said something like they were going to stay in the office even if, what was it, 17%? 3%? It was something like, they implied that like the percentage of people would be very low, but like, he's informing me.
Okay, I can't hear her at all.
Okay, yeah. I'll edit out that blank spot. Yeah, she was just speaking quietly because she didn't want to be on the thing. So they said like 1%, or like around 1%, less than 1% of people will get it, so it's fine, whatever. Well, less than 1% mortality. Sorry, I'm really fucking this one up.
Yeah.
And it's fine, blah blah blah. And then someone hit them back with like, "So you're cool if 17 of us die?" Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. And of course, they did eventually move online, and like one of my groups is a like web development thing, so like they were all online and stuff, but it's not like seeing that now in the US, like on a general scale with the economy, like, open it up, grandma and grandpa lived a good life, the economy needs it. Fucking ridiculous.
It's not like we don't have, it's not like getting sick normally is a fucking hellscape for most Americans.
Jesus, I can't. So I'm kind of
like, let me put this part in perspective. Last year, I had a supervisor literally tell us we should be coming to work sick.
Ugh.
Like, talking about how proud she was that she always came to work sick.
Dude, it's
like
fucking wild. Like, it's actually
that's the culture around here.
It's actually crazy.
So.
And I had to get used to it. I think I remember I mentioned something to like ultimate like I've gone through a lot of people who are technically my supervisor. I guess like the actual like
Yeah.
boss of the company. I remember, or maybe I forget who it was, but I remember like asking about it, like, and they were like, yeah, if you don't feel good, like, don't work, like, don't don't go out if you're sick.
Oh, you mean the reasonable thing?
Yeah,
Because
and I'm
like it
like,
makes more
and I
sense for
still,
sick people to
it's
stay home so they don't get other people sick.
it's
Oh,
it's
weird.
crazy. It's crazy how much that mentality. Like even if I feel like absolute shit, I still like. There's that part of me that's like, no, I'm missing work. Like I'm letting everybody down, and literally no one cares. Literally everyone is just like, okay, feel better. Like, see you whenever. Nobody cares, because it turns out like, it's the right thing. Even working at the factory, I remember when some lady she like went off the line, and we're like, okay, she's going to the bathroom. She was gone for like a full 20 minutes. Now, sure, once a year maybe you have that like gargantuan poop, and it's a full 20, and like you just gotta let it happen. But no. So she gets back, and everyone's giving her shit like, why are you gone so long? She's like, oh, I'm not feeling good, I threw up. We're like, what? Like, why are you putting your gloves back on? Get the fuck out of here. You're working with food. Like, and she like, we had to like all like yell at her to get the hell out of the room and go home. And she
Yeah.
like, she was still, oh my, and I'm sure it's because like, you miss a day of work, you miss that money. You miss that money, maybe you miss a bill or a rent or something like that.
Yeah.
And
No.
it's just garbage. Absolutely. But if to be in the food industry, even like,
Yeah.
it's just extra bad.
It's no. It's no
But
good.
with kind of a accumulation of these two topics, one of my friends and his girlfriend actually were protesting in in the town where I went to university, and the protests there were actually pretty good in terms of social distancing and stuff. Like, I saw some news clips, and they were like pretty peaceful. Obviously, I mean, it's not a huge city or anything, so that more local vibe. But they were standing along some of the bigger highways and just holding signs and doing all that stuff. And there was a pretty good chunk of social distancing between them along this highway. It was pretty cool, and I think a majority of them were wearing masks. But my friend and his girlfriend ended up probably getting COVID. I described it to, again, our family that's in the medical field, and they said, yeah, there was like a 99% chance it was COVID, because I guess what happens, there's people who test positive, right, and they have no symptoms, but there's also apparently a chunk of people that it's happened to where they test negative, but they have all, like, you have COVID, but the test comes back negative. So, like, they definitely had it, and he was, like, describing all the symptoms to me. Like, my brother got it, and thankfully, it was, like, the very light side. Like, the only symptoms he got was he just couldn't taste food for a week, so we all gave him shit about it. And my friend just had, like, all of the bad shit. Like, fatigue, soreness, like, had trouble breathing, and just fucking everything. He just turned 26, so he was off of his parents' insurance, and I don't know if he is, like, that Wisconsin mentality of, like, I don't need insurance, I'm 26, nothing's gonna fucking happen to me, or if he just hadn't gotten it yet. But either way, I was like, should you maybe, like, go to a hospital? Like, this sounds pretty serious, and also, like, not that he's very compromised, but he's not the healthiest individual on the planet, so, you know. And he's like, no, I'll be fine. I'm like, fuck's sake. Like it's such a common mindset, right? Like who the fuck
No,
can afford to go
I
to the
have that
hospital?
mindset.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, it's fucked, but like I have it.
Yeah,
Particularly
no.
like I I don't have any family that lives around here since my parents moved away.
Mm,
Like I don't have a safety net at all.
yeah.
I live by myself.
Gotta be careful with choking.
Yeah.
That's a fear. I'm not even alone, and it's my fear.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, and that's you rinse and repeat that how many fucking times across America. And
Yeah.
Anya, this has been a point. Like I think even Anya is better, far, far, far better than most people here. I think because she'd been online so much, like on the global side of the internet. But even when COVID was happening and we were like talking about it and just like why people weren't getting tested or doing this or doing that, or why do they want to go to work? I'm like, they want to go to work because they need to go to work because they need to pay their bills because the fucking government's not helping them barely at all. And nobody's going to the hospital because nobody can fucking afford to go to the hospital. What are you going to do? Show up and pay $10,000 to get a thing up your nose? Hell no. Set you back like another 80 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten not that I need it, but I still haven't gotten my stimulus check, and I can only imagine how many people have not gotten it. As kind of poor as it was for, how long has it been? March, April, May, June. Like 4 full months? $1,200? Great.
Man.
People paid like half of rent and called it a day. But it's fine. It's fine. The total wealth of like the billionaires in America went up to like 3.5 trillion from 2.9 trillion. So
Ugh.
it's okay. It's okay. It will trickle down into the common man's hands, and it'll be great.
Once we take it with
Yeah.
our bloody hands.
Yeah. Once we
it'll be
stab
ours.
them, and dude, the people did. I don't know if you saw. People left a
Eat the
guillotine
rich.
in front of Bezos' house.
Yeah.
Jeff hopes she's 18. Bezos.
Ugh. The fucking Elon Musk with his arrest me. I'm opening my fucking Tesla factory. Fuck you.
Dude, fuck. Remember like 6 years ago when everyone loved Elon Musk? Jesus. What a piece of shit. Like,
They were wrong then too. But
yeah. Well, even I've had a hard time coming to terms with it myself. Not with Elon Musk. And I've had an even harder time convincing other people of this, but like Bill Gates also is a bad billionaire because billionaires are bad. Like
billionaires are all bad.
he does a lot of good stuff with his money. But first, he could
Hey.
probably do more. And second, how do you think he got that fucking money, dude? You don't just stumble into $1 billion or billions and billions and billions of dollars. And everyone's like,
Also,
but he
like,
had a
one
great
person
idea.
shouldn't decide who gets fucking food and healthcare
Yeah.
by their whim.
Yeah.
Like that's not how the world should work.
And
No,
like-
like no matter how many fucking computers that guy made, like that's not.
Well, that's
doesn't
that's the thing,
pan
right?
out.
That's sort of, and I definitely used to think this way because why would I think different if you don't know? But like, and because Bill Gates, I think is, at least when I was in school, like Bill Gates was the billionaire that we learned about the most because of computers and everything and Windows and all that. So everyone's like, well, he earned that money, like he made Windows and he like made computers and stuff. I'm like, nobody makes $80 billion worth of computers. How do you think those computers
You
got
think
assembled?
the people who work for him maybe like did some of that labor? And
Yeah,
maybe like
yeah.
were maybe not paid enough if he made that much money off of it? Huh,
Yeah,
weird.
like somewhere along the way. And then like once Microsoft became a corporation, like you have a whole other slew of issues. But like, sure, initially he like did the programming and stuff and whatever, stole a bulldozer and
But
shit.
you know, because he made that company, he doesn't know how to fix the fucking school system. Maybe he's not the right person to determine that. But
Yeah.
like, you know, he has the money, so he gets to make decisions.
No, and it's I have put a few things on Facebook because, like, yeah, the police are a problem, obviously. A lot of political issues, but like, quite a few things could be solved if, like, we didn't have people with $100 billion running around, or if they at least paid their taxes. That would be a big step. And I've had, so both my parents are small business owners. The amount of times that I have shit on corporations, and one of them is like, so you're saying that my business should just like be canceled then or whatever? I'm like, does your business make like $400 billion a year? And if it does, where's my cut? Like, come on. Like, you're not the problem. Unless you make at least $1 billion a year, you're not the problem. Don't worry. Don't worry, Dad.
Economy should be about money moving. And you know who spends money when they get it? Poor people. Like, individual people. You know who doesn't spend all of it? Someone who has $100 billion.
Yeah.
Because how do you
there,
spend that money?
Wasn't there? I got two things. First off, I'm pretty sure there was some economist, probably from the White House, or there was someone who was like saying they thought that the stimulus check would really help the economy and people would be buying TVs and things, or like a car or something. Like, he made some stupid ass comment about like people spending it on bullshit.
Yeah, if they didn't have to pay their rent.
Yeah, or eat. Or, you know, clothe their kids or whatever.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? Hang on. Shit. What did you just say before my bit? Do you remember?
For my bit about billionaires not being able to spend their money.
Oh, right. Have you ever done the web app where it's like you get to spend Jeff Bezos's money?
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. I bought the entire
like...
NFL. The entire thing. All of the teams.
Yeah.
I renamed them all based on nuts.
It's not...
The Wisconsin walnuts versus the Indiana pecans.
Bring back the Cleveland Spiders.
Yeah, it's fucking, like, you could buy the entire NFL and then just have, like, however much money left. You're not even, like, halfway done.
Yeah, it's not.
Fucking ridiculous. It's just absolutely absurd. And, like, all the stats that some people... I've been doing this with more people because it's a pretty good way of showing them, especially for like, some of my friends from the factory. I'm like, okay... You worked at the factory how many hours a day? You've been there how many years? And, like, you got this much an hour. And this is, you know, what you would have with if we don't consider taxes or any of that shit and you didn't spend any of it. Now let's imagine you earned, like, $2,000 an hour and worked every second of the day for, like, the last 40,000 years. And it's still, like, it's not even like $1 billion or whatever. It's fucking ridiculous. And it's just, like, the fact that you can just throw in, like, almost any number in either of those slots and it just checks out because you're never going to hit $100 billion. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And I found that to be a pretty good way because, like, people who work a lot understand, like, the value being paid for the work that you do. And then, they understand, like, literally like, no human needs this fucking money. This much money.
And like how little movement there's been in the U.S. and on the minimum wage.
Dude.
Like, federal minimum wage is like $7, $7.25.
I think it's $7.
That's not livable.
Or $7.50, something like that. Or maybe just Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin maybe bumped up to like $7.50.
Probably.
That was fucking ages ago.
I looked it up. I think federal is still $7.25.
Okay.
Whereas, like,
I
I mean, New Jersey, if minimum wage is 10. That's still not livable here.
yeah, no,
Like,
no.
with cost of living here, you couldn't live on $10 an hour.
Even even working at the factory, and it was like it was fairly competitive pay just because there are a chunk of factories in the area. But like I was 20, 21, and I'm like, this is fucking great. Like I don't understand why people. It was again a slow transition after working
Yeah.
with these people and like working there and thinking about it. I'm like, this is fine. Like I'm making however much an hour, and it was above minimum. It was a chunk above minimum. I'm like, how could people need like $15 an hour? And then by the time for my area, of course, I recognize that if you're in fucking San
Yeah.
Francisco,
Yeah.
and by the time I got done, like working there and had been talking to those people and making friends and all that, I'm like, I'm fucking like 20, and aside from rent, I have like rent and utilities. I have like no bills. These people have like three
Yeah.
kids and a house and two cars and like whatever else that they're still paying off. They're fucked.
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
even with the over minimum wage, it's still just fucked.
Yeah. And it's like when minimum wage was set, it would like that money was completely different, but because we don't update it, we don't like maintain our country, it it becomes worth less and less to the point of being fucking a joke. Like we might as
Yeah.
not have a minimum wage if it's going to be that low.
Yeah.
If it's going to be below the amount people would need to live.
Yeah. And then
Like working a 40-hour week and not being able to pay rent. Like that's what you're looking
It's-
at there.
dude, it's fucking gross.
If you were
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, right? I was thinking like these people are probably
like fucking Amazon pays $15 an hour. Like just cuz they can.
yeah. No, and that was like I can't. Again, we weren't getting minimum wage, so then it's like you think about if you weren't, it's like holy fuck, like it's bad enough doing this work for 40, 45 hours a week, not minimum wage.
Yeah.
Oh, and then like, of course, rural Wisconsin, it's a factory. Fuckload of those people probably voted for Trump. I think probably more, from what I know, more of the guys did than the women, because they actually cared when Trump said "grab her by the pussy," like they were offended by that. Like this whole idea, like of people being like, "Well, the economy's gonna be great." I'm like, okay, cool, like that's good. What's your portfolio look like? What does your investment portfolio look like, Jim? You got a lot. You doing a lot of big moves on the stock market? Doesn't seem like it. Like it doesn't. The economy doesn't mean shit if you're not like part of it, and so many people aren't. Because why the fuck would you be?
I mean, why would you be now? It just seems it's imaginary normally. Now it seems well like the swings in the stock market are fucking crazy.
I mean, on a personal level, I still regret that I couldn't convince Anya to let me buy some stocks in varying companies when this shit all started. But, it's just ridiculous. Like how many people still believe not only Trump, but like believe any general things about like, or try to defend like, oh, Netflix paid 0 taxes last year, and then they have some bullshit excuse. I'm like, why are you defending them? You don't. There's no reason. You don't get any money from them. Like it's okay to shit on them. They're not going to do anything to you. They're already doing things to you.
But they give me the anime.
Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. I hadn't moved my mouse in so long that my screen went to sleep, and I panicked for a second.
Oh no!
I was like, oh no, Netflix heard me.
Netflix's revenge.
Ugh. Or like all that. Like that was actually one of the points. And again, like I don't want to shit on my parents, but they're a product of their position in life and the area in which they live. But one of the things that did kind of get through to my dad, like fine, after like how many hours of just me being sweaty and stressed trying to discuss shit with him, and then finally he's like, I can see how Amazon not paying taxes is a problem. Thank you. It's only been like 6 hours. Let's go to bed. Like, but just that the fact that so many people just don't get it or don't care enough to get it is maybe the bigger problem. Like, yes, it's a problem that these corporations and then these people are doing this shit. I'm actually kind of connecting this back more to the pandemic. I'm curious to see how shit here goes, and I'm kind of surprised it hasn't been going worse in terms of the economy. To my understanding, as Anya explained it to me, there was a mandate, a federal mandate over here that everybody gets their paycheck. Like if you're working in a coffee shop and you no longer can due to the pandemic and the coffee shop is now closing because again it's mandated by the government, you will continue to receive your paycheck as if you're working there. However, the company will be paying the paycheck, not the government. So if the company runs out of money, then what? So I for now I think it's going fine. I think there's been a bit of help, but I'm curious to see how that plays out long term.
Yeah, that's not how they're doing it.
Yeah,
in the US.
So for on an individual basis, it's of course pretty fucking good. But just like for the for the billions of small coffee shops in the city, like how many of them will come back out of it? But
Yeah.
no, I was just,
like how it's gonna once we actually can get through this, it's a whole different thing of like the economic recovery. But like,
dude,
that is putting the cart before the horse right now.
yeah. I was.
You just need to figure out how to take care of people.
Yeah. I was just talking to my sister who is down in Nashville, and she was talking about she's into photography and everything, and there's some photography shop, camera store, and along with selling like some lenses and stuff like that, they do a lot of development. They have a lot of like they sell film and they like develop film and all that shit. And she said it's pretty successful because it's Nashville, so there's a ton of fucking hipsters with film cameras and just general photography enthusiasts who buy lenses and all of that. But then for the universities there, any of their photography classes and you're working with film or any of that, or photography, you need photography paper. That's a huge chunk of their business is these students. And with stuff the way it is, like those students haven't been out, like their photography classes have all changed their stuff for like the last chunk of the semester, and then going forward they've announced changes and they won't be doing stuff the same, so they're going to end up doing less film stuff, I believe. So this place like announced like we're going out of business, like we will not be opening back up when the pandemic comes to an end. And it's like the perfect example based on what my sister told me. It would be totally fine if they could just close and get their shit covered or just like waived during the pandemic, like their property bills or whatever, and just open up because the students use it and they like shit would just kind of spring back. But nope, like just zero assistance at all. So they have to close permanently despite being successful.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure just one example of countless across the country.
Yeah. There have been a lot of stories of like, oh, they passed an aid, like millions of dollars in aid, gone in 90 minutes. Just
Yeah,
like instantly. There are also stories of checks going out to dead people.
Right.
So, government's really handling the money well.
The fact
doing a bang up job.
Did you get your stimulus check?
I did.
Was it mailed or was it direct deposit?
Direct deposit,
You
because that's how I
lucky
done it
son
for
of
my
a bitch.
taxes.
So I have never done direct deposit for my taxes. So now it's like fucked. But I think was it Australia? People in Australia were talking about how they just have a nice system. Like there was a thing, you go in, you put in like I don't even think it's your entire social security and like just your information, and you're just like get the money like instantaneously. Like it takes like 40 minutes tops, and you have your cash. Meanwhile, in America, snail mail. So I don't even know how the hell I'm gonna like. It's gonna be a thing to try to deposit a check that I don't physically have from 4,000 miles away, but who knows?
Yeah, that sounds like a bad time.
Yeah.
My recommendation is to have done your taxes with direct deposit. That's all I have, unfortunately. That's all I have for you.
Maybe. Actually, if my mom has been helping me on the other end of this for doing taxes this year, have been a nightmare because I'm overseas, working overseas, and Anya is not an American citizen. So but she's also not an illegal immigrant. So it's just been a fucking mess. So we actually did go we just like used I think a person that mom and dad have used before, just to like it's over our heads. So maybe I actually didn't think of that, but maybe if she was using her head because I wasn't, she would have put like a bank account on there. Who knows? We'll find out. But my check also might be in the mail and just like lost. So
yeah, who knows? The thing I want to end with is just like a rubric for bullshit detection with whether something's going to happen or not. Like whether people are thinking about coronavirus the right way. And it's if people are giving you dates and like a plan that's like, oh, we're going to do this at this particular time, do not trust that plan. Because the way you have to think about the coronavirus is we work at its pace. You have to act based on the way the numbers are going. So you have to be flexible. But so much of the way we're used to things is specific dates built around the year. So that's just like with the movie Tenet being released. Christopher Nolan's new movie, where they keep setting a date saying, oh, movie theaters are coming back with this date. And then they go, yeah, in 2 weeks. We're pushing it back. They just pushed it back to like August. And it's like, that's not gonna happen. Like it had been July 31st and now it's August 12th. And it's like, what are you doing? You really gonna expect people to go into a movie theater in August?
Yeah, dude.
You think that's where we're gonna be?
Yeah.
Or like the NBA is coming back in Florida, where like cases are exploding. And the problem I really see with their plan is that they have it like really laid out to rush through it so that they can start the next season in December. And it's like, dude, if you want to get through the season, you have to space it out so that you can have time to shut it down when cases go crazy.
Yeah.
Or people test positive. If you're planning to like, oh, we got to get this all done in this time, and that'll be good, we'll do it. That's a bad approach.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell people are thinking about money more than they're thinking about reality.
Mm-hmm. Just because you're done with coronavirus doesn't mean coronavirus is done with you.
Well, it's also like the way people are talking about it. Like, oh, now with second wave, motherfucker, we didn't finish the first wave.
Yeah, no, it's
we are not at the second wave point yet. First wave is it goes away and then comes back. It's been a low simmer and now it's peaking back up again. Like, this is all still
Did it even
first
get to
wave.
Did it even get to that low of a simmer?
Like, nationally, if you look at the curve, yes. But really, it was just certain places peaked early and certain places are peaking now.
Yeah. Again, I love my family, but that Wisconsin mindset is too strong. Like, why are you guys going for a fish fry with grandma and grandpa once a week? Maybe we shouldn't do that. Whatever.
Yeah. Like, luckily my parents like moved to Pennsylvania and kind of they're not social people anyway, so they're pretty isolated normally, so it's been,
Yeah.
I haven't really had to worry.
I do think my parents, I'm pretty sure keep, or at least my mom maybe, keeps on top of like the current statistics for our area in Wisconsin. And it is extremely low. Like, I think they had, what was it? It was like 40 cases or something like that in like the entire county. So it's about in line, but it's not, they haven't gotten like any more. That there hasn't been that like increase really. So as long as she's looking at that, that's fine, I suppose. But still, either that or Anya's gotten to me, and now I'm like, why the fuck would you go outside right now? Demons are out there, man.
Like, you can go outside, just avoid people.
But they're everywhere.
It's true.
Maybe
I step outside and there are people eating,
dude,
like 10 feet away from my door. From the restaurant nearby is like taking over the sidewalk with seating.
We finally did a.
I pass so many people on my way to work. I hate it. I hate it.
It's ridiculous. Like, even when we go outside for a walk, like, in theory, there's not that many people once you kind of get out, but actually there's a ton of people because it's Russia and it's been sunny. So, like, yeah, there's just a fuckload of people out, even if you kind of stay away from them.
It's like the one thing good about coming home at night when it's dark is there are less people around.
Yeah, I finally convinced Anya to do a booze run with me because things were getting dire, and she's like, okay, we'll go at like 2 p.m. because that's when there's going to be absolutely nobody in the liquor store. And she was correct. Liquor store was fucking completely empty. The street where the liquor store is, however, was like fucking packed. Thankfully, on our way back, it started pissing rain, so there was nobody, but there was so many people out and about, and it's just ridiculous. Yeah. I can only imagine, like, at this point, I feel like I'm going to forget how to use public transit, but even just when a bus goes by and you can see there's like 20 people in it and nobody's wearing a mask and they're just packed in.
Yeah. The thing I'll say here, again, except for like all these people sitting at these restaurants eating, mostly people are wearing masks. I do still, like, I'll see people who like have their mask, but it's not covering their face.
Oh, it's like under their nose or something?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because they're like, The worst is like if someone comes up to you to talk to you and then like wants
They
to pull
take the
down their
mask
mask so
down.
that they can
Ugh.
talk. And it's like, no, that's the most important. It's backwards. When you
Yeah.
talk to me, you need the mask on.
I take off my welding
you're away
goggles
from
so I
people, it's
can
less
see what I'm
important.
doing.
Yeah. I will say I've also had a hearing issue, so I can't like hear
Jesus.
any customers at work when they talk to me. I'm like, I might as well be deaf.
Oh
I don't know
no.
what you're saying. I feel very rude, but what can you do when you can't hear?
Yeah.
I have to people come up to me. I have to stoop low, point my good ear at them. I'm an old man.
Before we started this, and you said I was quiet. I see. I see how it is. I'm like worrying that my whole setup's fucked, and 2 hours
And
later,
it might
Hank
just be
hits me
that I'm
with "I'm
deaf."
deaf."
In
Watching me-
retrospect,
Sounds like you're
look,
far
I
away.
can hear better
That's
when
so
I'm
weird.
pumping the noise into my brain. That
Maybe
usually
that's the
is
problem.
better.
I mean, I think maybe it's because we only did it for, well, we still did it for however many fucking years. But I would not be surprised if I end up having some hearing issues. I've been watching my dad start to get some because that man has been mowing lawns using chainsaws and like being around engines for, 50 years basically. And just until like the last maybe 5 or 6, just zero hearing protection.
Yeah.
So now it's like, blasting the TV or whatever. But I kind of started noticing that, and I'm like, maybe I'm gonna pull out those dusty old, like, earmuffs when I mow the lawn instead of my go-to when I was younger, which was just put in the earbuds and turn up the music until you can't hear the lawnmower.
Hell yeah.
Sure you couldn't hear properly for maybe 2 hours after you were done, but like you didn't have to hear the lawnmower then. Literally,
Put
that's
the
what I would
earbuds
do.
on and you put the mufflers over your ears.
No. Just the music. The music was good enough. This was before like noise canceling was a huge thing, or a not terribly expensive shitty thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was a thing. No problems yet though, but we'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's a podcast.
Yeah. We I feel better.
This has been
I feel better.
episode
I feel
1
good getting it out.
of the Attack and Defund God podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us, but this was not for you. This was for us.
Yeah, no, it was
So.
definitely it felt cathartic. Got a lot of fucks and shits out that needed to be out. Are we gonna have any links to things in the description? Maybe a few to
I'll figure something out.
okay. Check the description for
Oh.
some links. There will probably be something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.